Mr. Metacur's final video on the Trout series came out earlier today, and it was pretty good as the other ones, but there was one omission that sort of disappointed me, I suppose. And maybe it's just that Mr. Metacur got the head of a soy turkey on his bed, so he didn't really dare go against the soy father or the stepfather. Because I got the impression like he was sort of making fun of Sargon in his video, but he just focused mainly on Kraut and tea. And yeah, I get the impression that he was thinking of maybe going after Sargon a bit more, but for whatever reason he decided not to do it. So that being said, I want to point out some behavior of Sargon referring to this whole Kraut and tea affair. So this is from this private discussion between Sargon and Kraut and tea that, Zeph streamed a couple of weeks ago, and this was recorded December 11th, 2017. So let's start.
Well, is it alright if I record this? Because this is important, and I think it's just better to be honest.
So just to point out the same thing that Mr. Metager pointed out in his video, that Sargon wants to make sure that he can record this video. Like, this is one reason why I suspect that Mr. Metager was thinking of making a bit something more about Sargon, or adding some more information about Sargon in his video. Because if it's just if Sargon is simply having a friendly chat with his friend, then why would he be like, oh, I'm gonna record this? Because it seems to me that Sargon was suspecting that he can use this video later on to try to vindicate himself from this whole affair. Okay, let's play the next clip.
Right? I don't know why you are engaging in the sort of culture war tactics the SJWs engage in against the alt-right. And I've said to you repeatedly, privately, that you shouldn't do this. This is a waste of time, and it's not a good thing to do. And you are doing it anyway, so I'm curious to know why you're doing it. I really don't see the advantage.
I have to ask, what exactly do you mean with culture war tactics?
Well, digging up people's pasts, trying to sort of smear them to make them look bad, things like that.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Come on.
No, I honestly have no idea what you're
talking
about.
Come on, man, come on.
No, you have to give me a specific example.
Hello? Okay, like finding Coach Red Pill's past. Like this sort of thing. Like digging up who are the other people? There were other people that you've
what the fuck?
You've been.
So here we are provided with evidence that Sargon knew beforehand that Kraut was digging people's private information or doxing them or whatever. And also Sargon is criticizing Kraut and T for his culture war tactics, or SJW-like culture war tactics. And in some other instances too, Sargon has criticized Kraut and T for going on full culture warrior mode, as if that's a bad thing, because I thought that Sargon was all about the culture war. So why is it bad now to go into culture warrior mode? Like, shouldn't Sargon be partially responsible if Kraut and T, who was to a certain extent, like Sargon mentored him to a certain extent, so if he learns from Sargon, hey, we are fighting the culture war, and then he goes into culture warrior mode, so why is now Sargon trying to rebuke him for that? Okay, but let's get to the meat of this whole thing.
She showed me his old channels, that's it.
Okay, but I think you're downplaying this, right? Because I think you've gone into culture war mode, and I just want to say that, like, there's like from a moral position, I don't see this as being a moral good. I see this as being a moral evil. The alt-right are a weak fringe group. It doesn't matter if they appear to be bad people. So it's a pointless exercise.
So, first of all, we should note that Sargon called Kraut's methods, which refers to his doxing and gathering people's information, that it's morally bad. So clearly Sargon found it morally bad, and throughout this discussion he advises Kraut on several things, such as that he should actually debate JF about the race realism issue, and most of the advice that Sargon gives is reasonable advice, but I'll get back to that later, like his role when he's advising Kraut. It's also interesting how here Sargon says that the alt-right is just a weak fringe group, so he shouldn't waste his time or whatever fighting against it. Well, it's curious now, almost a month later, that Sargon just had a debate or discussion with Richard Spencer on Adam Worski's show, Race Worski's show. There's nothing wrong with Sargon changing his mind and thinking oh, okay, maybe alt-right is a threat after all and I have to fight them. Sure, you can change your mind, but I just feel like here in this discussion between Kraut and Sargon is saying that the alt-right is a fringe group because, well, he knows that Kraut is losing this battle, so instead of admitting defeat, Sargon wants to say oh, it doesn't really matter, I don't care. He takes the Sargon option, as usual. Okay, let's move on. This is an earlier stream, a Worski stream with Billy the Anti-Bully asking Sargon some questions.
If you know Kraut's doing shit that's underhanded, and this is
I don't. No. Listen, I don't.
So
know.
wait. Let me finish my. No. Let me finish my question.
No, but you've started with something that I don't agree with. I don't know that he's doing things that are underhanded. I know that he personally is googling people's histories.
No. But did he lie?
Sorry.
Because. Did he lie when he said, Sargon told me this is wrong, this is what SJWs do? He said, I shared Coach Red Pill's data with Sargon, and Sargon said we shouldn't do this. That's what SJWs do. So you knew he was doing underhanded shit, right?
No, listen. I'll tell you exactly what I know, and then we'll understand, won't we? Kraut was looking into the histories of people, like Coach Red Pill's Russia Today and his website and stuff like this, stuff I just don't care about. I don't find that to be necessarily underhanded. He didn't say he was doing anything with this information, but I told him repeatedly, there's just no point. And if you're thinking about doing something, then don't, obviously. But there's just no point going into this because this isn't addressing any of the arguments. You're attacking the person and not the argument. What's the point in any of that? It seemed to be just a way to make him feel better or something, which honestly makes him look like he's losing.
So here Sargon says that he didn't think that Kraut's data gathering operation, he says it wasn't necessarily underhanded. However, in this other video, he said in this earlier discussion between Kraut and Sargon said that what Kraut was doing was morally bad or morally evil.
From a moral position, I don't see this as being moral good. I see this as being moral evil.
From a moral position, this is not moral good, this is moral evil, or something to that extent. But here he says no, he's not doing necessarily anything underhanded. I would say that underhanded and morally evil mean more or less the same, morally evil is even more severe in my opinion. So I do think Sargon was lying here in this discussion on Worski and answering Billy the Anti-Bully's questions. Because, well, he says no, I didn't know that Kraut was doing anything underhanded. But, well, according to his words in this earlier discussion, he said it, he condemned Kraut for his morally evil actions. But here he claims that no, Kraut wasn't doing anything immoral. He was simply doing something that was tactically bad. For us conventional people, you would call that a lie, but of course Sargon might simply say that no, he misremembered something, or I'm misunderstanding, because his IQ is clearly much higher than everybody else's. So, and yeah, I guess I should play this clip. I'm not sure if this is ultimately relevant to this video, but I still want to play it. Like this video is about how he is criticizing the media for their lies of omission and so forth.
And CNN and the rest of the mainstream media lie to you through omission. And in my opinion, this is the highest and worst form of lying. This is a form of lying that is so advanced, and they have perfected to such a degree that they do not even need to tell you an untruth in order to mislead you.
So I'm not quite sure if this is like fair to like use this clip against Sargon, but here he is at least condemning lies of omission, and since Sargon did know that Kraut was doing something, at least I would say it's questionable, morally questionable, and he said nothing. At least as far as I know, he didn't try to warn Coach Red Pill or whoever others Kraut might have been doxing. And he said nothing, so you could call this a lie of omission. However, I don't really think, like, you know, not ratting out your friends if they do something you disapprove of, I think that's a good thing. So I don't really hold it against him, but here, you know, Sargon is moral fagging about lies of omission, and well, so yeah, perhaps the best way to use this clip in this video is to point out that I don't find the lie of omission that Sargon did when it came to Kraut's things. I don't find that as a fairly immoral act. I understand it. He was protecting his friend, and he was advising his friend. In that respect, I can understand Sargon's actions. However, let's move on. So, after like all of this, really, his Kraut's doxing server and the task force Discord server, whatever you want to call it, it became public knowledge and stuff. Sargon made this video, done with Kraut drama, category comedy. So just right off the bat, like, look at how Sargon is framing this whole issue. He's calling it drama. He said that he did the exact same thing when it came to the Candid shit a year ago. Like, whenever the skeptics do something stupid, underhanded, morally evil, and then people rightly get upset about it and, you know, point it out, then Sargon calls it, oh, it's just drama. Like, when he's criticizing feminists or the alt-right or whatever, he's not, you know, slinging shit around or whatever. He's not starting dramas. No, he's doing, you know, he's fighting the culture war or whatever. But, you know, when others criticize the skeptics for the shit they pull, then you are starting drama.
Hey folks, so I'm just recording this from a hotel room because I did This Week in Stupid Live today, and apparently there's been a huge drama with Kraut and JF regarding Kraut encouraging someone to flag his video or something, or someone did it regardless of... I don't know. I've been out of the loop because I've been busy with IRL stuff.
Okay, now I have to show a clip from this video. I cannot say that this is necessarily what Sargon is doing, but he, in this video, Professional Liars, Sargon showed 3 ways that the mainstream media lie by omission, and the third one is willful ignorance, like pretending like you don't know something even though you do. And I don't know. He's just pretending like, I don't know what the drama is all about, and well, then why don't you find out, look into it, or shut the fuck up? Because, and also I think Thunderfoot did pretty much the same thing. Like, he made a video about the Kraut drama, but he said like, I don't really know what's going on. So why the fuck are you even making a video about it if you don't know what you're talking about? Like, it just sounds like it's like an, you know, pleading the fifth or whatever. Like, I don't know what, I'm not gonna implicate myself.
And everyone's asking me, are you gonna mirror JF's videos? I don't have a link to it. But I'm not. I'm gonna take down my mirror of Kraut's video.
So okay. This also, like, that comment is complete bullshit. Because he mirrored Kraut and T's one of his anti-race realism videos after it was flagged and taken down from YouTube, and Sargon mirrored it, and once again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Kraut and T and Sargon were friends and allies in the skeptic community. There's nothing wrong with that. For, you know, you to mirror your friend's video, especially after it has been taken down. But then somebody asks, are you gonna mirror JF's video? And she's like, I don't have the link. Well, I don't think it's gonna be really hard for him to ask, hey, can you send me a link to the JF video? Like this is clearly a fucking, it's not like the, you know, worst lie, but I don't know, it's just so stupid, it annoys me, because I don't expect him to mirror JF's video. Like, they're not really friends or allies, they're just internet acquaintances, so he's not like morally obligated to mirror JF's video. The only thing he has to say, like, no, I'm not gonna mirror it, I don't wanna do it, or whatever, like, you know, I don't care. Even like there, I don't care would be a good tactic for Sargon, like I would allow it. But yeah, I think there should be like a drinking game when you watch Sargon's videos, and whenever he says, I don't care, then you drink. You'd be wasted in a few minutes.
I don't want to be involved in this drama anymore. I don't know who's right, I don't know who's wrong, and I don't care. I don't really approve of behaviour on both sides, but I approve of Kraut's behaviour less.
So he says he doesn't approve of behaviour on both sides, so at least he says that he disapproves of Kraut and T more, but what did JF actually do wrong? Like, what is he talking about? He should specify it. But once again, he says, I don't care.
I don't care.
Okay.
I know who's right, I don't know who's wrong, and I don't care.
See, you can, when he says that, when he says, I don't care, it actually usually means he cares, but it means he's put in a tight spot and he doesn't know what to do, so he pretends like he doesn't care. It's sort of like a, you know, animal pretending to be dead so the predator wouldn't attack you. That's basically what the Sargon option is. Like, I don't care, I'm dead, just look away, walk away, go eat somebody else. That's what his Sargon option of I don't care is. And this is like the kind of dishonesty from Sargon of Akkad that really pisses me off. At least here he like admits that he was involved in the Kraut drama before as well. He mirrored the video, he mirrored Kraut's video, not JF's. And so he clearly took a side because, well, Kraut and T was his friends. They're both skeptics, and JF is annexed alt-right, not really alt-right. So Sargon did take a side, and he did try to help Kraut and T. Like, this is already, he was offering Kraut and T advice, fairly reasonable advice in my opinion, how to continue with his battle against the alt-right and race realists. But the point is that Sargon was helping, he was not neutral. He did take a side. However, when things turn sour, or when the crowd turns sour, then Sargon says, I don't care, I'm neutral. And this is such a fucking pussy option. It pisses me on. Like, so I suppose it's fair to call him the soy father, although I think the stepfather is funnier. So yeah, when Sargon says, I don't care, it usually means just the opposite. He cares, but he knows he cannot win. But to save face, he pretends like he doesn't really care about the outcome, so nobody can say like, haha, you lost. I'm done with the Sargon stuff, but I want to sort of speculate on something else, like the implications of this whole Kraut drama. And to do that, I should play this clip from Kraut and T. That was, I guess, after he had finished talking with Sargon and he was talking with his co-conspirators on the doxing server.
Jeff, oh my god, the fact that I gathered this data on Coach Red Pill is going to bite me in the fucking ass because he knows I gathered it. Where the fuck is Jeff Holiday now?
Well, I'm not the first one really to think about it. I think some people have speculated on the internet that Coach Red Pill sort of leaked his personal information to Kraut and T to ultimately use it against him, to bite him in the ass. Perhaps that was what he was doing, and certainly a lot of people have said that a lot of the stuff that Coach Red Pill has done in this whole Kraut event and afterwards is basically to gain more attention and make himself seem relevant, and that's certainly, well, is probably at least part of the reason, but there might be an, let's say, even more convoluted agenda at play. Some nameless people on the internet whose comments I read a few weeks ago maybe, so I cannot remember the exact content, but the basic idea was that perhaps this was sort of orchestrated, the whole thing, to bring down the skeptic community and from the ashes would rise the alt-right. And this, I read these speculations before the debate or discussion on Racewarsky's stream between Sargon of Akkad and Richard Spencer. And certainly I would say that the result of that discussion is that the alt-right is gaining popularity and the skeptics are losing popularity and their, let's say, their social power or credibility or whatever. I think most people who watch the debate or the discussion think that, well, Sargon handled it pretty badly, and I certainly do. He handled it badly, and hey, I'm not a fan of Richard Spencer either, but I think he made more sense. So anyway, like the end result, like even if this, speculation that there is some, agenda or conspiracy, that this was somehow orchestrated to bring down the skeptics and to promote the alt-right, like even if it's just a crazy conspiracy theory, like the end result seems to to correlate with this conspiracy theory, and correlation does not equal causation, so take of it what you will. But there is this interesting tweet. Well, apparently Mr. Gonzalo Lira, or Gorgonzola, Coach Gorgonzola, who is Coach Red Pill, I don't think I'm doxing him, I think everybody knows this by now. He and Richard Spencer have been friends, or at least acquaintances, at least since 2013. And yeah, they both became addicted to the same stupid iOS game. They don't even say what game it is, so fuck them. It's here Nerdy Octopus, I guess. So anyway, like, of course it might simply be that they have met each other and they became friends. That's certainly a possibility, but certainly I don't think that, Richard Spencer is just, a guy following his ideals. I think he is being controlled opposition, in my opinion, and he is being promoted by whatever the powers that be, whether it's he glows in the dark like a CIA nigger, or he's working for Israel or Mossad or FBI or whatever agency. I don't know, but I do think that Richard Spencer isn't just a regular guy with great ambitions, and perhaps Gonzalo Lira is also part of this group in some way. Like, I'm just mentioning a possibility. I don't know, but I find this quite interesting since Coach Redpill was an integral part in this Kraut drama, and he also attacked Sargon of Akkad, claiming that he knew something about it, and I don't disagree with Coach on that. Like, I do think that Sargon actually knew more about the whole Kraut thing that he really lets us know. However, I cannot prove it, so I'm just gonna say that's my opinion. There might be some sort of like, and I'm not saying that these two guys necessarily orchestrated the whole thing. I'm saying maybe there is some sort of George Soros-like figure who has pulled some strings and managed to make this happen. Because, well, let's say that the speculations that I didn't start, but I writing them to their logical conclusion, or at least trying to. So let's say that the skeptic community is gonna be brought down, like not necessarily entirely demolished, but its credibility will be reduced to very low, so it will be much more very irrelevant in this coming year. What might the reason be, like, and why would the alt-right then be promoted? And well, one possibility that comes to mind very obviously is like, if George Soros or whoever, people like that, who'd like to see some sort of civil war, or quote unquote civil war between the alt-right and Antifa, because perhaps the skeptic community, although I'm not a fan of the skeptic community, but perhaps they act as a buffer between the alt-right and Antifa, and they are have been a sort of pacifying element. But if you take out this buffer, perhaps the alt-right and Antifa will start much more trouble, and at least in the United States. Perhaps this is one reason to bring down the skeptic community, because I don't really think that the skeptic community is a threat to the powers that be. So I don't think that, if this was some greater globalist conspiracy against them, or utilizing them in this conspiracy to prop up the alt-right, then so yeah, I don't think in the grand scheme of things the skeptic community is such a big deal that they're a threat that should be eliminated, but they might have been used as a sort of